Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're opening up a really interesting topic, actually. It sits right where culture, language, and maybe a bit of confidence all meet. We're talking about navigating restaurants where English is the main language. And we want to go way beyond just, pointing at menus.
Exactly. No more pointing and hoping.
We're aiming for, a kind of linguistic mastery.
Yeah.
Where you can actually shape the whole dining experience yourself.
That's the plan, yeah. Our mission today is really a deep dive designed just for you, listener. We're laying out a complete two-part guide.
Okay.
We'll start with the absolute must-haves, the survival toolkit. This bit is all about getting rid of that nervousness, giving you instant confidence, clarity, and control.
Confidence, clarity, control. Got it.
And then we move up. We get to the masterclass. That's where we focus on the, let's say, strategic side, the nuanced communication you see from someone who's really, truly proficient.
Right, because it's not the same goal, is it?
Yeah.
Depending on your level. So we split this deep dive into those two levels.
Precisely. For, say, A2 to B1 speakers, the real focus is just function. It's about using a few simple, really useful phrases that honestly solve probably 99% of the usual situations you hit in a restaurant.
So this part is about building that solid base, getting rid of the fear factor.
Totally. It's the foundation. But then, for those who are ready for that next step, maybe C1, C2 level,
Yeah.
that's when we shift focus to influence, strategy, and performance. We'll start looking at dining out almost like a social ritual.
A ritual.
Yeah, where the sophisticated language you use, understanding the cultural hints, those become strategic tools. Tools you use to show you're, discerning, maybe even a bit commanding in a polite way.
So it's a whole progression from surviving to strategizing.
That's a great way to put it. And we're ready to start right at the beginning with those essentials, getting you competent fast.
Okay, let's unpack this survival toolkit then. The aim here is stuff you can use immediately. Build that confidence. We're talking about giving you just the necessary phrases you need to walk in, sit down, get some food, pay the bill.
Without needing sign language or feeling terrified.
Exactly.
We sometimes call this the principle of function over flair. You don't need fancy words right now. You need simple, repeatable, polite phrases. The ones that just work every single time.
Okay, where do we start? The door.
Let's start right at the door. Arriving, asking for a table. #tag #4. Arriving and asking for a table, confidence building.
Right, so you walk in, there's usually someone there, often near the entrance, maybe at a stand or a little desk. Who's that?
That's your first point of contact. We call them the host or the hostess. The interaction's usually pretty short, but it's important.
And what's the first thing you should do? Before words even.
Honestly, your secret weapon works everywhere, no translation needed. A friendly smile.
Ah, yes, the universal welcome.
Absolutely. It just sets a positive tone right away. Okay, so you've got the smile ready. Now you need the actual words, the magic key phrase for asking for that table.
Okay, hit me with it. Let's say there are two of us. What's the essential, polite phrase?
It's incredibly simple, which is why it's so effective. Just a table for two, please.
A table for two, please.
That's it. Look what it does. A table tells them what you need. For two tells them the number. Please keeps it polite, short, efficient, perfect.
And it's flexible, right? So if there are four of us,
A table for four, please.
if I'm eating by myself,
The table for one, please. See, the structure stays the same. You just change the number. That's your core phrase right there.
okay, simple enough. But then comes the question that can make people panic a bit.
Yes. The counter question from the host. Do you have a reservation?
Let's quickly define that. What is a reservation? Or sometimes they say booking.
Good point. A reservation or a booking, they mean the same thing. It means you called them earlier, maybe yesterday, maybe 10 minutes ago to save a table for a specific time. You booked it in advance.
Gotcha. So how do we handle that question without freezing up? If I did book ahead.
You answer confidently, yes, I do. Then, the crucial bit, it's under the name, your name.
It's under the name. That's the key part for them to check.
Exactly. They need your name to find it in their book or system. So don't forget your name.
Okay. And what if I didn't book? If we just, walked in hoping for the best, like you often do for a casual lunch.
Then the confident, simple answer is, no, we don't. Or if you're alone, no, I don't.
That's it. No need to apologize or explain.
Nope. No need at all. Just clear, direct communication. It's perfectly normal not to have a reservation for many places.
Right. But sometimes, even if you don't need a reservation, they might say, there's a wait. What does that mean? And what do I do?
A wait just means all the tables are full right now, so you'll have to wait until someone leaves. This is another point where you stay in control.
Wow.
Well, they'll usually estimate the time for you. They might say, I'm sorry, there's going to be a wait of about 20 minutes.
Okay, so they give you the information.
Exactly. Information you use to decide. Your choices are clear. You can say, okay, that's fine, we'll wait. Or if 20 minutes is too long, you can politely take back control and say, thank you anyway, we might try somewhere else. Or just, okay, thanks anyway, goodbye.
So you use their info to make your decision. That feels much more confident.
That's the essence of control in this situation. Simple information exchange, then your choice. #2. Ordering your meal, clarity and control.
Okay, success. We navigated the entrance, maybe waited a bit, now we're sitting down. Menu in hand. Next challenge. Ordering. Who do we talk to now?
Right, so the person who takes your order and looks after your table, that's your waiter, usually for a man, or waitress for a woman. Sometimes people just say server. They'll likely bring the menu, which is, the list of food and drinks.
And just like getting the table, we need a reliable phrase here, don't we? One go-to phrase for ordering anything.
We absolutely do, and this is the golden ordering phrase, I would like.
I would like.
Okay.
And, in natural spoken English, that almost always gets shortened to, I'd like. I'd like, yeah, that sounds more natural. And you're saying this one phrase works for drinks, food, everything.
Everything, absolutely. Want a drink? I'd like a sparkling water, please. Ordering your main course? I'd like the Caesar salad, please. See? One structure. Clear. Polite. Does the job every time.
That really simplifies things. Is there another way to say it? Maybe slightly less formal.
Yes, there is. The phrase, can I have, is also very common and just as polite, really.
Can I have? Okay.
So, can I have a glass of red wine, please? Or can I have the chicken soup? Both I'd like and can I have are perfect choices. My advice, pick the one that feels more comfortable for you and just stick with it.
Consistency helps.
It really does. The key principle here is clarity. So when the waiter comes over and asks something like, are you ready to order? Or can I get you something to drink? You just use your chosen phrase, I'd like, or can I have, for each item you want.
Okay, so the panic moment disappears. Because I'm not trying to remember 10 different ways to ask for things. I have one tool that works for the whole menu.
Exactly. That's real control. Knowing you have the right words ready. #3. Paying the bill. The final step. All right, fast forward. The meal was hopefully lovely. You finished eating, enjoyed your time. Now it's time to sort out the payment and leave.
The final step, first off, terminology. What do we call that piece of paper with the total cost?
Good question, because it varies. In the United States and also parts of Canada, you generally ask for the check.
The check, okay.
But in the UK, Ireland, Australia, New Zealand, lots of other places, you ask for the bill.
The bill. So check or bill, but they mean exactly the same thing.
Exactly the same thing, just a regional difference. Use whichever is common where you are, or honestly, they'll probably understand either one.
Okay. So how do I actually ask for it? I need to get the waiter's attention first, presumably without yelling across the room.
Right. A little eye contact, maybe a small hand gesture when they're looking your way. Once you have their attention, what are the simple, effective phrases?
Yeah.
The most direct way is just, the bill, please, or the check, please.
Short and sweet.
Yep. Or if you like the slightly longer question format, which sounds a touch more polite to some ears, excuse me, can we have the bill, please?
Okay, excuse me, can we have the bill check, please? Excuse me, and please really do the work there, making it polite.
They do. Politeness markers are key. So the waiter brings it over, you figure out the payment, cash, card, whatever, and then just before you head out, there's one last little step.
Ah, the exit.
Yeah, the graceful exit. It's just about leaving a good final impression.
So a simple thank you.
Exactly. Even if the meal was just okay, saying something like, thank you, that was lovely, or maybe, thank you very much, have a great evening, just closes the whole interaction nicely.
Right. Clean finish.
And there you have it. You've successfully gone from walking in the door to walking out, handling each step using just a few core essential phrases.
That really covers the A2B1 survival guide then. Clear, functional language for the whole process. Confidence, clarity, control.
Nailed it.
Okay. And now, time to level up. We're leaving the survival basics behind us. Now we're stepping into the realm of, well, influence, you called it.
That's right. Influence, strategy, performance. The language gets a bit more complex, yes, but that's because the goal changes. It's not just about making yourself understood anymore.
It's about mastering the conversation.
Precisely. We're looking at the kinds of advanced techniques, the C1, C2 level stuff, that shows real sophistication, it shows strategic thinking, it's more of a polished performance in a way.
So we're going from just eating out to analyzing it as a social ritual, using language deliberately.
Exactly. Every word choice becomes more intentional. This is the C1, C2 masterclass.
Right.
The big shift in mindset here is understanding you're not just passively receiving service, you're actively designing your own experience.
Designing the experience, I like that.
And we start right back at the beginning arrival, but this time we approach it with foresight, strategic thinking. #tag1, strategic arrival and negotiation.
Okay, so the A2 speaker, you said, uses simple words like want. I want a table. How does the C1 or C2 speaker handle booking a table differently, more strategically?
They use softeners and more nuanced phrasing. Instead of a direct demand, you signal anticipation and flexibility. Try something like, I was hoping to book a table for 2 for this Friday evening, perhaps around 8.0.
I was hoping to.
Yeah.
And perhaps around 8.0.
See the difference? I was hoping to suggest desire, but it doesn't sound demanding. And perhaps around 8.0 clearly signals you're open to negotiation. Maybe 7.45 or 8.15 works better for them.
So you sound accommodating, not pushy.
Exactly. It's a hallmark of a good communicator at this level. You're saying, I know what I'd like, but I also understand you have constraints.
And this continues when you actually get there, right?
Yeah.
Making specific requests about where you sit. It's not just a table anymore.
Absolutely. You're shaping the atmosphere now. A truly discerning diner might ask for a quiet nook, suggesting a cozy private corner.
A nook?
Or maybe a booth, which usually means those seats with the high backs, offering more privacy. If it's a place known for its design or location, you can ask for a table with a particularly interesting vantage point, or maybe just with a view.
Using those specific terms shows you've actually thought about the environment, not just the food.
Precisely. It signals you're not just there to eat, you're there for the whole experience.
Now, what about that special occasion strategy you mentioned earlier? If I mention it's our anniversary when I book, what's the sophisticated reason behind that? It's not just small talk.
Oh, it's pure strategy. You're giving the restaurant a subtle hint, an implicit prompt. You haven't demanded anything, no free cake, no best table guarantee.
Right.
But you've provided context. You're saying, look, this is important to us, and really attentive service or a small gesture would make it extra special. Often, this leads to slightly better treatment, maybe a nicer table automatically, or even a complimentary little something.
So it's indirect linguistic influence.
Yeah.
Clever.
It really is. But let's run a challenge. We arrive, maybe we even booked, but the table they offer us is, well, terrible. Right by the kitchen doors, where everyone walks past. A real thoroughfare.
Yeah, happens all the time. I don't want to sit there, but I also really don't want to sound like a complaining, difficult customer. How do I refuse gracefully?
Key thing. Avoid blame. Avoid accusatory language.
Yeah.
Frame your dissatisfaction as a practical need. Maybe for conversation, maybe for privacy.
Okay, how? If it's just too public.
You could say something like, we'd prefer a table that's perhaps a little less conspicuous if one might be available.
Conspicuous. That's a good C1 word. Means easily seen, right?
Exactly. It sounds objective, less like a personal complaint.
But I still worry, asking for something different makes me look demanding. Could I soften it even more? Maybe compliment them first.
Ah, now you're thinking like a C2 speaker. That's the perfect strategy. Start positive. If the issue is noise, you could say, the ambiance here is fantastic, really buzzing. I wonder, though, might you have a table where the acoustics are perhaps a little softer? It might just be easier for us to chat.
Oh, that's smooth.
Yeah.
You compliment the buzzing ambiance, then frame the request around your need to converse, not their noisy restaurant.
Exactly. You're aligning your request with a shared goal, having a pleasant conversation. And what if the tables are just packed too tightly? You want more space between you and the next table.
Yeah, that can be awkward.
Here's a brilliant C2 tactic. Frame your self-interest as consideration for others.
How does that work?
You could say, we'd hate to impose on our neighbor's conversation. I wonder if there happens to be a table with a little more separation.
Wow. Okay. So by worrying about disturbing the other table, my request for more space sounds incredibly polite and reasonable.
Precisely. You've turned a potentially selfish request into an act of social grace. That's high-level stuff. #tag2. Decoding the modern menu. Literary analysis.
All right, table secured. Now, the menu arrives. The C2 speaker treats this not just as a list of food, but almost like Well, like a marketing text, a piece of literature to be analyzed.
Literary analysis of a menu.
We need to decode the jargon.
Yeah.
All those fancy words, the gastronomic jargon, they're there for a reason, usually to signal quality, justify the price tag.
Right. Let's break some down. Those adjectives that scream authenticity. What about when something is called artisanal, like artisanal bread?
Artisanal implies it's made by a skilled person, an artisan, probably using traditional methods, small batch. It's the opposite of factory-made, mass-produced.
So it signals quality, effort, maybe a higher price.
Exactly. You're paying for the craft. Then you have words like heritage or heirloom, often used for vegetables or maybe breeds of animals.
Boiling to make perfect example. It suggests this variety is old, traditional, maybe hasn't been genetically modified for a supermarket shelf life. The implication is deeper flavor, more character. It connects to the idea of provenance, too.
Provenance meaning the origin.
Exactly. Where did this ingredient come from? A menu that tells you the provenance, pork from region name, or uge, locally sourced vegetables, is signaling transparency, a commitment to quality sourcing, often local.
Okay. And we also see the term farm to table quite a lot.
That's more of a whole philosophy, isn't it? It paints a picture of wholesome, sustainable food, short journey from the farm to your plate. Freshness, trustworthiness, often implies support for local farmers too. It's a big trust signal for diners who care about those things.
Makes sense. What about the slightly more romantic term, foraged? Foraged mushrooms, perhaps?
Foraged. That means someone literally went out into the wild forests, fields, and gathered it. It implies rarity, seasonality, a connection to nature. You know you're not getting standard cultivated stuff. It feels special, maybe a bit adventurous.
Okay, moving from ingredients to techniques. Some modern menus get quite conceptual. What about deconstructed? Deconstructed apple pie.
Deconstructed signals an experimental, almost intellectual approach from the chef. They take a familiar dish, break it down into its core components, and present them separately on the plate.
So you might get the apple filling here, the pastry element there, maybe a dollop of cream.
Exactly. It forces you, the diner, to kind of mentally reassemble it or appreciate the parts individually. It's definitely signaling art and concept.
And what about sous vide? Sometimes written sous vide, S-O-U-S-V-I-D-E.
Sous vide. It's French, means under vacuum. It's a very precise cooking technique. Food is vacuum sealed in a bag, then cooked slowly in a water bath at a very controlled temperature.
What's the result?
Incredible tenderness, juiciness, and perfectly even cooking, especially good for meats or fish. Seeing sous vide on a menu signals the kitchen is using modern, high-level tech and aiming for technical perfection.
Right. Finally, verbs. Food isn't just cooked, it's pan-seared.
Pan-seared. Much more evocative, isn't it? It tells you about the method. Quick, high heat, probably in a pan, the result. A lovely, crispy, browned crust. Think scallops or a good steak.
Okay. What about blanched? Often see that with green vegetables.
Blanched means a very quick dip in boiling water, then usually straight into ice water to stop the cooking. It brightens the color, keeps vegetables crisp tender, signals freshness.
And one more. Cured. Like cured salmon.
Cured implies preservation, but usually without heat. Using salt, maybe sugar, smoke. It develops flavor and changes the texture, often making it more delicate. Think cured meats, or that lovely silky texture of cured fish. Understanding these verbs helps you really picture the dish before it arrives. Hashtag order, strategic inquiry, and modification. Okay, so you've analyzed the menu like a pro. Now comes the actual ordering, but at the C1, C2 level, it's more of a dialogue, a nuanced conversation. Polite interrogation is the name of the game.
Polite interrogation. Sounds intense.
It just means asking intelligent questions. It shows you're engaged, interested, not just passively receiving. It's actually a sign of sophistication, not ignorance.
Right. So instead of just pointing and saying, what's that?
Yeah.
If I'm curious about the fish of the day, how do I ask?
Use a soft opener. Invite the waiter into a conversation. Position them as the expert. Try. I was quite intrigued by the market fish. Could you perhaps tell me a little more about how it's prepared today?
I was intrigued by, that's much nicer than, what is it?
Exactly. It's complimentary. It encourages them to share details. And then you can drill down, ask more specific questions that show you have a discerning palate.
So if they describe a sauce, I could follow up with.
Something like, that sounds exquisite. Just wondering, is the sauce very rich, or would you say it's on the lighter side? Asking about richness, spiciness, texture. These show you're thinking carefully about the flavor profile.
Okay, that feels like a proper conversation. Now, what about modifications? Asking to change something. This feels like dangerous territory. the cardinal sin of being a difficult customer.
It can be if handled badly. But the C2 speaker knows how to make requests using masterful softeners.
Masterful softeners.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's say I want to swap the fries that come with the steak for a side salad. I know this might be extra work for the kitchen. How do I ask without sounding demanding?
You acknowledge the potential trouble. You actually use the word imposition, like this. I was wondering, would it perhaps be an imposition to substitute the fries for a simple side salad instead?
Would it be an imposition? So you're directly saying, I know this might be inconvenient.
Precisely. It shows respect for their process. Makes them much more likely to say, of course, no problem at all.
Clever. And the classic request, getting the dressing or sauce on the side. How do we soften that one?
Use a slightly dramatic softener. Adds a touch of elegant politeness. Would it be terribly difficult to have the vinaigrette on the side?
Terribly difficult. Okay, it sounds almost overly polite, but it works.
It does. It makes the request feel small and charming rather than a demand. Now, we also have to talk about handling preferences and allergies professionally.
Right. Allergies are serious. You need to be direct there, surely.
Direct, yes, but still professional and framed correctly. For a serious allergy, you state it clearly, but position the staff as your guide to safety. I should just mention that I have a quite severe nut allergy. Could you please advise me on which dishes would be completely safe for me?
Okay. Clear, firm, but polite. And for preferences, things you just don't like. Say, I'm not a huge fan of spicy food.
Frame it as seeking their expert advice based on your personal tolerance. I'm generally not very good with a lot of heat. In your opinion, would I find this particular dish too spicy, or is the chili quite subtle?
So you're asking for their judgment, making them the expert again.
Exactly. And one final sign of a truly advanced diner, controlling the pacing of the meal.
Ensuring you don't feel rushed. How do you manage that without sounding like you're telling them how to do their job?
You give a clear but very polite instruction up front, often when ordering. Something like, just to let you know, we're in absolutely no rush this evening, so please do feel free to pace the courses out for us.
Pace the courses out. That's the key phrase.
It is, and the please do feel free too keeps it sounding like a polite suggestion, not an order. You're explicitly designing the rhythm of your own evening. Total control, gracefully executed. #4. The vocabulary of appreciation and complaint. Connoisseurship. Right, the food has arrived, it looks amazing. Now, how do we talk about it? At the C1, C2 level, we need to move beyond just, it's delicious. We need a richer vocabulary. We're aiming for connoisseurship.
Okay, expanding the praise vocabulary. If something is really beautifully done, refined.
You might call it exquisite. The presentation was simply exquisite.
And if it's even better than that, truly outstanding, almost inspiring.
Then you might reach for sublime. That chocolate dessert was sublime. And if the whole meal, the whole experience felt like a major success for the chef and the team,
You could say.
you could declare it a triumph. Honestly, tonight's meal was a triumph. It suggests real achievement.
Okay, those cover the overall impression. What about specific flavors? Let's say something has a pleasant sharpness, maybe a tangy cheese or a spice.
A good word for that is piquant, Piquant. The sauce had a lovely piquant edge. For something bright, lively, often citrusy.
That would be zesty, right?
Exactly, a very zesty lemon tart. Now for deep, strong, complex flavors, maybe a rich stew or a powerful red wine.
He's robust.
Perfect, a robust flavor profile. And the opposite, if something is very delicate, subtle, not overpowering.
Just subtle, I suppose.
Subtle works well. The hints of saffron were very subtle. Now, just as important as flavor is texture or mouthfeel, how the food feels in your mouth. If something is incredibly smooth, creamy.
Velvety.
Velvety is excellent. A velvety, smooth soup. And for something that's rich, maybe slightly oily in a luxurious way, coating the tongue like a rich sauce or bone marrow.
The fancy word for that is unctuous, isn't it?
It is. unctuous. Use it carefully, but it's very descriptive. An unctuous texture. And for something incredibly light, airy, almost weightless, like a perfect mousse or foam.
We could use ethereal?
Ethereal, yes. The foam was utterly ethereal. Using these specific terms shows you're not just consuming, you're actively analyzing and appreciating the chef's work.
Okay, but what if it's not sublime or ethereal? What if something's wrong? We need the flip side. The eloquence of the polite complaint. How to say something's not right without causing a scene.
This is perhaps the ultimate test of linguistic grace under pressure. Rule number 1. Always start with a soft opener. You need to signal reluctance to complain.
Like what?
I'm so sorry to be a bother, but, or, excuse me, I really hate to have to mention this, but it immediately lowers the tension.
Okay, soften the entry. Then what?
Use subjective language. This is crucial. Frame the problem as your experience, not as an objective, undeniable fact about the food.
Example, my steak is overcooked and dry. I don't say, this steak eye is dry.
Yeah.
I say,
You say, I'm finding my steak perhaps a little on the tough side this evening, or it seems a little overdone for my liking. See, I'm finding for my liking it's about your perception.
it takes the accusation out of it. What if my soup is cold?
Use indirectness. I'm afraid my soup seems to have gone a bit cold. I'm afraid expresses regret seems to have gone cold is less direct than it is cold.
Subtle but effective.
Right.
And if they brought me the completely wrong dish?
Again, indirectness and framing it as a potential misunderstanding is key. Oh, excuse me. I think there may have been a slight misunderstanding. I believe I'd actually ordered the pasta rather than the risotto.
A slight misunderstanding. Removes blame,
Yeah.
allows them to fix it easily.
Exactly. It avoids making the waiter defensive. It's the difference between getting a quick, polite correction and potentially starting an awkward argument. All about smooth navigation. Hashtag 5. Navigating the wine list. Sophistication and dialogue. All right, let's tackle a specific ritual, the wine list, often involving the sommelier, the wine expert. The goal here is to sound knowledgeable, engaged, but definitely not arrogant.
Right, so we need the right vocabulary of preference. If I want a big, heavy red wine,
You could ask for something full-bodied and robust, maybe mentioning you like wines with firm tannins. That points towards things like Cabernet Sauvignon or Syrah.
and if I want the opposite, a lighter red,
You'd ask for something lighter on the palate, perhaps with soft tannins or good acidity. That might lead you to Pinot Noir or Gamay.
and for white wines, if I want something really crisp and refreshing.
Ask for something crisp and zesty, maybe adding with good minerality. Think Sauvignon Blanc or Pinot Grigio.
And if I prefer those richer, creamier whites.
Then you'd mention wanting a bit more complexity, perhaps, or even a buttery texture, which often points towards oaked Chardonnay. Using these kinds of descriptors tells the sommelier immediately that you speak the language of wine.
Okay. Now, the potentially awkward bit, price. How do I let the sommelier know my price point without actually saying, I only want to spend 30 pounds?
The discrete budget signal. There's a very elegant nonverbal technique for this.
Do tell.
It's simple. You scan the list yourself first, find a bottle that's roughly in the price range you're comfortable with. Then, when the sommelier comes over, you casually point to that specific bottle on the list and ask, could you tell me a little bit more about this one?
Ah. So you're not saying you want that exact bottle necessarily.
Exactly. But you've subtly anchored the conversation around that price level. A good sommelier will understand immediately and recommend other wines in a similar bracket. It avoids any awkwardness about money.
That is genuinely a brilliant social hack. Okay, finally, the wine arrives. They pour a tiny bit in my glass. The tasting ritual. What am I actually supposed to be doing here?
Right. This causes a lot of confusion. The sole purpose of that small pour is to check if the wine has any faults.
Faults, like what?
The main one you're checking for is if the wine is corked. That means the cork was contaminated with a chemical called TCA, and it gives the wine an unpleasant smell, like damp cardboard or a musty basement.
So I'm smelling it, mainly, not tasting it to see if I like the flavor.
Exactly. It's not a try before you buy for flavor preference. You've already chosen it. You're just doing a quick quality control check. Give it a swirl, a sniff. If it smells clean like fruit or oak or whatever it should smell like, then it's fine.
And what do I say if it's fine?
The simple standard confirmation is just, that's perfect, thank you, or that's fine, thanks. No need for elaborate tasting notes. Hashtag take 6. Settling the bill and exiting graceful final act. And so we reach the end of the meal. Even paying the bill, the final act, is a social performance with its own linguistic nuances at this level.
Okay, first step, getting their attention to ask for the bill check. We move beyond the basic, bill please. How do we signal we're ready, but politely?
You use slightly softer, more deferential phrasing, acknowledge they might be busy, something like, whenever you have a moment, we'd be ready to settle up.
Settle up. Okay, whenever you have a moment.
Or another concise and polite option, could we possibly trouble you for the bill when you're ready? Again, when you're ready shows consideration.
Right. Now, let's talk about the situation with friends. That awkward moment when the bill arrives, the payment dance. How does the sophisticated version of this play out?
The whole script. Yes, the ritual for maintaining social harmony. Okay, person A wants to pay. They make the first move, firmly but warmly. Please let me get this one. Honestly, I insist. It was my pleasure.
Okay, person A is the initiator. What does person B do? Just accept?
No. Person B must make a token protest. It's required. Oh, are you sure? You really don't have to. I was planning on getting it. A light resistance.
Okay, token protest made. Person A.
Person A gently overrides the protest, reinforcing their intention. No, really, I'd like to. I absolutely insist. Let me treat you.
Right. Now, person B has to accept gracefully. What's the crucial line they must say?
After expressing thanks, well, thank you so much. That's incredibly kind of you. Person B must immediately rebalance the social scales by saying something like, you absolutely must let me get the next one, though.
You must let me get the next one. That's the key line.
That is the non-negotiable closing line of the dance. It acknowledges the generosity, but restores equilibrium by promising future reciprocity. The social debt is noted and scheduled for repayment.
Fascinating. What if we genuinely do want to split the cost?
Then you're direct but polite. Shall we just split it evenly down the middle? Or the common idiom, shall we go Dutch?
Go Dutch.
Say,
But what if it wasn't even? What if I had the expensive lobster and 3 cocktails and my friend just had a salad? Splitting evenly feels unfair then.
true social awareness, C2 level, means you preempt the awkwardness. You bring it up. Hang on, let's not split this evenly. I definitely owe a larger share. I had that steak and a couple of glasses of wine. Let me put in more.
So you volunteer to pay more before they even have to think about it. Smooth.
Very smooth. It avoids resentment and calculation. Okay, last point on the bill itself. The tip or gratuity nuance. We know service included means it's added, not included means you add it. But what about that tricky phrase, discretionary service charge?
Discretionary, meaning optional.
Exactly. Discretionary means it's suggested, often already added to the total, but you technically have the option to remove it. If the service was genuinely unacceptable, you can politely ask for it to be taken off.
But you should probably expect a conversation if you do that.
You should. It's usually paid unless things were truly bad. But the C2 speaker understands it's not strictly mandatory like tax. Okay, final moment. Walking out. The last impression.
The graceful exit. Need a polished final compliment, right?
Yes. As you leave, catch the eye of the host or maybe your waiter, offer a warm smile, and say something conclusive and appreciative. That was a truly wonderful evening. Everything was absolutely superb.
Superb. Nice final touch.
It reinforces the positive experience, uses that slightly elevated vocabulary, and leaves a sophisticated, lasting impression. Hashtag tag outro. So if we synthesize all of that from this deep dive, the main takeaway is that real fluency, especially in a social setting like a restaurant, isn't just about knowing lots of words. It's about how you use language.
Right. Using it to shape the experience, navigate those social moments.
Exactly. And to express a particular kind of personality, discerning, aware, confident, from strategically asking for that quiet nook, to understanding the menu's subtext, to handling the payment dance, all these choices demonstrate your command.
It really has been a fascinating look under the hood, hasn't it? At the hidden rules and language of dining out in English. You listener, you now have the tools, not just to get by, but to actually influence, critique, and really elevate the whole experience. So here's the final thought I want to leave you with. Which specific piece of this nuance we discussed today, maybe it's using a word like unctuous or ethereal, maybe it's mastering that polite complaint, or perhaps the discrete wine budget signal, which technique will you try out first to elevate your next dining performance?
Go on, use these tools, put the knowledge into practice.
Until our next deep dive, take care, everyone.